devil is the true God. And it was the Masons who founded America. Now, I believe you can now see that all of what we have covered during this presentation makes sense. This is why our founding fathers lied to us. They were concealing their belief of knowledge of the true God in our history. And that is why they named America after Amaru, a sun god, and a concealed name of Lucifer, another name for Satan or the devil. It all makes sense. America's secret destiny is the New World Order, a civilization without a belief in the Creator God, a civilization led by their true God, Lucifer, the devil. And to show you exactly what this New World Order is, I would like to quote two modern authorities on the subject. And this information will show you that what is happening in America today is to further advance us into this new civilization called the Novus Ordo Seclorum, the New World Order. The first of these two is Al Gore, the former Vice President of the United States and the current champion of the global warming cause. He wrote another book in 1992 entitled Earth in Balance, and it tells us about how we are going to get all of these changes. He explained on page 48, our challenge is to accelerate the needed change in thinking about our relationship to the environment in order to shift the pattern of our civilization to a new equilibrium. Little change will be evident until a threshold is passed. Let me remind you that a threshold is a narrow piece of wood or metal that is placed between the outside and the inside, and it is crossed in a split second when you step over it. That means that Mr. Gore is saying that there is a single crisis coming that will cause enormous things to happen. Mr. Gore does not define what that single crisis is, but on a more defined or dignified note, it is possible, maybe, that the winning of his Nobel Peace Prize might be the very event that is going to trigger what is about to happen. He goes on to tell us what those things are. And then, as key assumptions are modified, a flood of dramatic changes will occur all at once. And on page 163, he explained what the price will be if we do not modify these key assumptions. Unless we find a way to drastically change our civilization and our way of thinking about the relationship between humankind and the earth, our children will inherit a wasteland. Apparently, Al Gore thinks that the threshold is global warming. So this is why we are experiencing a rash of claims that global warming will utterly destroy this planet, and that we will be so frightened by this impending disaster that we will totally remake our civilization. Now let me bring you to another individual, a second one, warning us about some dramatic changes coming. This is Alvin Toffler, who wrote this book entitled The Third Wave in 1980. This book describes him as one of the world's best-known social thinkers and a futurist, and that his works are read in more than 50 countries. And let me add that Mr. Toffler is in agreement with the changes that he wrote about, and I am in total opposition. These are his comments. Beneath the seemingly senseless events, that there lies a startling and potentially hopeful pattern. Many of today's changes are not independent of one another, nor are they random. They are, in fact, parts of a much larger phenomenon, the death of industrialization. That means that we will no longer enjoy the fruits of an industrialized society, meaning we will no longer produce more electrical appliances, tools, cars, etc. What else could he mean by that? Middle-class America, those who enjoy the products of an industrialized society, will have to be eliminated. How do you accomplish that? One way is to cause an economic depression where workers lose their jobs and cannot pay for their middle-class lifestyle. Another way is to export all of our industrial jobs to foreign nations. No jobs means they cannot afford their cars, appliances, tools, etc. Ultimately, it means the destruction of the middle class. Mr. Toffler went on. This new civilization is slowly emerging in our lives. And blind men like Ralph Epperson are trying to suppress it. This new civilization brings with it new family styles. America for over 200 years was built upon the family, consisting of a husband and a wife and children, if any. But today America is legalizing marriages of 2 men and 2 women. In other words, the traditional family is being downplayed and other forms of marriage are being created. This new civilization brings with it changed ways of working. America used to be an industrial giant among the nations of the world. America in the past produced the highest standard of living amongst the nations of the world, meaning other nations were living in poverty, and we had a high standard of living, and we enjoyed the benefits of the free enterprise system. But now high-paying jobs are being exported to other nations, resulting in lower wages in America. And this is being done to lower our standard of living. In other words, it is intended for us to lose our high standard of living and to live with less, just like the socialized nations of the world with a lower standard of living. This new civilization brings with it changed ways of loving. America's public schools are teaching that homosexuality and lesbianism are alternative lifestyles. The movies and television programs are featuring homosexuals and lesbians in their productions as a way of changing our ways of loving. This new civilization brings with it changed ways of living. Many Americans are now living together without marriage, whereas in the past, couples got married before they lived together. That means that we are changing our ways of living. This new civilization brings with it a new economy. America is currently experiencing an economic downturn, and it was planned to happen by those in favor of the New World Order. People are losing their homes and personal property because they have lost their jobs and can no longer meet their monthly payments. This new civilization brings with it political conflicts. Communism used to be this nation's biggest political conflict, and now Russia, the major communist nation, has divided and rejected the economic philosophy of Karl Marx, the father of communism. And now our new political conflict is radical Islam and terrorism. Mr. Toffler continues with his thoughts in his book entitled The Third Wave. The dawn of this new civilization is the single most explosive fact of our lifetimes. Humanity faces the deepest social upheaval and creative restructuring of all time. Now he said, notice here that he's saying that he is in support of this social upheaval. We are engaged in building a remarkable new civilization from the ground up. The jolting changes we are now experiencing are not chaotic or random, but that they form a sharp, clearly discernible pattern. When we finally understand this, many seemingly senseless events become suddenly comprehensible. And that ends the comments by Alvin Toffler. Simply stated, all of these changes in the way we live our lives are called the New World Order. And they are being orchestrated by a conspiracy of Masons and others. This nation is going somewhere because it was promised in 1782 by this nation's founding fathers who had a hidden vision for this nation. If you want to study just what this New World Order is in more detail, may I suggest that you consider purchasing my book entitled The New World Order. Then you might also consider watching my 14-hour lecture series on 7 VHS tapes entitled The New World Order. And you will actually read the words of those who are in favor of changing the very way we live our lives. All of these materials are available through the Publius Press catalog at the end of this DVD. Now let me return with this last thought. If you do not know the Creator God, may I suggest that you consider reading my booklet entitled God Exists, Proof for the Skeptic. You can know with scientific certainty that the Creator God exists because your own answers to my 3 questions will show you that. Science, logic, reason proves that the Creator God exists. I would like to close with this rather amusing photograph that has made the rounds of the internet some time ago. It shows a hunter sleeping with his rifle in his lap and a deer sneaking in while he's asleep to eat his lunch. I would like to use this photograph to illustrate a point. We are the sleeping hunter. And while we are sleeping, this conspiracy is secretly sneaking in to eat our lunch. And my admonition to you is this. It is time to wake up. Thank you so very much. And may God bless America.